to start the Bonehunters by Stephen Erikson, Book 6 of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. Since the first book, every single book has been my favorite book when I finished it. Now, reflecting back, I think Midnight Tides is still my favorite book, so we'll see if that changes with the Bonehunters, because this is one that a lot of people do say is their favorite book in the series. I did something I don't normally do, only because I wanted to know a little bit about where this story was going, because I did read the back. I don't always do that. I didn't read that with the previous books because I knew, okay, Gardens and Memories of Ice are following a similar storyline. Dead House Gates, House of Chains following one. Midnight Tide, something else. I didn't know where the Bonehunters were going, so I wanted to find out. So it looks like this kind of follows House of Chains and follows that story in the Seven Cities. So I'm really excited for this, especially because people say that this is perhaps their favorite in the entire series. I know only what's on here, and that I'm supposed to read Chapter 7 in one sitting. That will actually be doable this week. So I try to schedule my Malazan reads when I have a lot of time to read. And I'll try to give you updates, daily updates, where I am. Today's Saturday, and I am off for the next 9 days. So I will be able to read quite a bit. I also have a pretty clear social calendar, so I don't have a lot of things on the calendar, which I'll be able to just be reading a bit of Bonehunters, and I do have my hopes that I read it in the 9 days. So it's about 900 pages, so about 100 pages a day. I think that's doable for me. I won't push it if I'm not feeling inspired to do that, but if I am feeling, I may read it even faster. So who knows? But I'm really excited to do this. I shoot these vlogs. These are spoiler vlogs. So if you haven't read Bonehunters after this update, you probably want to just move on to the next video. Just watch another video that I've done. But I'm really enjoying the series. I'm excited to read the Bonehunters, and I'll just click stop here, and I'll see you after I've started the book. Hey, it's Sunday. My update is yesterday I read 120 pages, which was prologue and chapters 1, 2, and I think chapter 3 as well, I think is how many chapters it was. It started off a lot like typical Malazan book, where I'm confused, I'm disoriented, I don't know what's going on, I don't know who these people are, I don't know what's going on. And then it started to feel familiar as we started to get more of the characters back that I know. Of course, there's new characters in there as well, but I kind of found my bearings. I wrote down a couple notes just to make sure that I talk about each of the characters. The first thing I really liked was Fiddler, who's going as Strings now. Just seeing the one scene with him and Kalam and Quick Ben together. It was kind of nice to just see, almost even a little bittersweet to just see those three together, just knowing the fate of the rest of the bridge burners. But I really enjoyed that scene there. There were a few characters that I wasn't remembering, like when Pearl came into the one scene, and then finally at the end of the scene with Lestariel, I remembered Pearl at that point. So I'm hoping that that's the case for a lot of these characters that do come in and out of books, that if there are a couple books removed, that there's enough in there that I'll remember and not have to go to the wiki, because I'm always nervous looking things up, because I just worry that I'm going to be spoiled something. So a couple other things I wrote down. I'm really intrigued about the Opsalar storyline. I have a feeling that she's going to be important in this book. I don't know if that's true. I will say, though, the two ghosts with her, they annoy the hell out of me. I think they're supposed to be comic relief, and I just find them annoying. I find it interesting because Skarl Pust, is that his name? Yeah, he came back in this book as well. And it was interesting to me that I had a conversation on a live recently about Malazan and how Skarl Pust as well as Krupp kind of have the same roles, where they're kind of comic relief and similar characters. And I love Krupp, but I can't stand Skarl. So I don't know, I guess the ghosts are like this for me as well. I'm kind of annoyed by them, but I am intrigued to see what happens with Opsalar. And I found it very interesting, the kind of one of the last scenes that I read, where she found these tablets, and reading the tablets, you find out that Heberic could possibly be very, very strong and very, very important going forward. So that's going to be interesting. Of course, Karsa's on the scene, and he's inadvertently funny. I think sometimes just how his
gruff and confident, how, he'll just say that he's going to kill a whole army, and he probably can. But that fight that he had with that creature was pretty hardcore. And him at the end with like his skin dripping off his skull and everything. I mean, just Karsa's still just a standout for me. I still don't understand why all I heard about going into this series as far as like the big powerful one was Animander Rake. And I mean, Rake's cool, and I guess maybe because book one he turns into a dragon and people think that's cool, but I don't know. I find more entertainment out of Karsa than Animander Rake. Some other characters came back. Nil and Nether were back. Interesting. That was one scene that they were good. They were back. The one thing that I really look forward to seeing too is the Mappo and Ikariam, because I like those two characters together. And you saw at the end of their scene, it seems like Ikariam is starting to maybe regain his memories. And just knowing what his memories are all about, I look forward to seeing, how that's going to play out. So that's going to be interesting. Because it looks like there's going to be a convergence where Leomon of the Flails is taking kind of his army, and the Malazans are kind of going to the same place. Wygatan, I think, is the name of the city where they're going to converge. And so that's going to be interesting. It feels like it's not going to be the whole book. So maybe I'm just conjecturing, maybe this chapter 7 that everybody talks about as its standalone novella, maybe that's what chapter 7 is about, is this convergence with all of those characters. But I know there's like 4 or 5 pages of Dramatis Personae, so I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of the characters. I think Troll is in the book, so I hope to see him soon, because coming off of Midnight Tides, I mean, that's my favorite book so far, and I feel connected to a lot of those characters, and I didn't see a lot of them in the Dramatis Personae, so I guess I'm going to have to wait till Reaper's Gale, I guess, to see a lot of them, but it looks like Troll is in this one. But anyway, it's off to a good start. It's just interesting because it starts off, you're so disoriented, and then you just get into the groove, and I get into the writing, and I enjoy myself. So it's Sunday evening. I spent some time watching TV, watching football today, so I'm probably going to read like all evening. So I'll probably put down about 100 pages tonight, and I'll give you my update sometime tomorrow. Hey, Monday update. I'm going to make it quick, so I'm about to go jump into chapter 7. I finished book 1 last night, and the ending meandered a little bit. The last chapter and a half I felt were really slow. I think in many ways, I got a little spoiled by Midnight Tides, which I felt was such a tight narrative from beginning to end. Didn't really have any slow moments, but I know even some of the other books I love, like Deadhouse Gates, Memories of Ice, are definitely some really slow spots, and that's kind of what I felt like. Things are just kind of meandering around. So, but not a major issue. One thing I forgot to mention in my update yesterday was the Cutter, Heberick, Felliston the Younger group, which that's another group. Like, I feel like, trying to predict a Malazan book is impossible, but certain storylines I think might be important, and I had mentioned like the Apsalar storyline seems like that's going to be important. I think the Cutter and Heberick group are going to be important as well. And I just think it's interesting because it combines, some people we've known quite a long time but have been kind of sitting on the periphery, at least some of them, like Cutter in particular, and he's kind of a bit more important now. So I'm intrigued to see where that goes. And Grey Frog is a demon. I do like that character. I think it's very interesting. I like his kind of inner monologue that, he speaks that to others, like when he's noticing things. It's just like he has no filter, and just his perspective is very unique. And I like the voice that Erikson gave him. But I know that chapter 7 is the famous one where I'm supposed to do it in one sitting, and it's about 90 pages, so I'll do that. That's probably about 2 hours of reading. I don't know if I'll update again today after that chapter or just another update tomorrow. But, again, my goal to kind of finish this in 9 days is on track because I'm 230 pages into it after 2 days of reading. But so far, so good. A little bit of slowness at the end of yesterday's reading session, but we'll see where it goes from here. All right, Tuesday update. So I'm leaning back, and if my voice is a little raspy, it's Tuesday evening. I got like a 24-hour bug or something and have felt horrible since yesterday afternoon, and I'm starting to feel a little bit better enough to at least do this and do a couple things around the house. But the good side of it is, as horrible as I felt, I was still able to read a little bit. So I did read some last night, and then I did read some, I guess, yesterday afternoon, evening, and some kind of late this morning. And I am done with book 2. So the story progresses. The famous chapter 7 did not disappoint. I mean, that's the chapter that's hyped up and everyone says how great it is, and you need to read it in one sitting and everything. Truth be told, I read it in 2 sittings because I wasn't feeling well. I actually napped in between reading that chapter, but I can understand why there's so much hype around this chapter. And for me, it's not about the action that happened. I mean, the action was crazy. I mean, basically the entire city, Leomon just rigged the whole city to basically blow up and take the 14th Malazan army with him. And although, of course, he wasn't there, he left. But that wasn't what was big for me. What was big for me is there's one singular thing in there that for me made this chapter just incredible. And that was the character arc of Karab. For Erikson to take a character in 90 pages and give you a meaningful character arc that felt real and felt earned it's a masterclass in writing, especially given that we're not focusing on him and the people around him the entire time. I mean, this story is still huge and it's all over the place. So the fact that he's able to do that, I mean, incredible skill from the author. And just I posted a couple of the quotes in the fireside because I was just blown away by just where this character, who was this zealot figure that was just worshiping Leomon and following around anywhere, didn't want anyone else close to him because he was his number 2, just does such a 180 and grows and sees the Malazans as just people like him. I mean, it was such an incredible character arc. I mean, the whole chapter was amazing, but for me, that's what elevated that chapter to be one of the best that I've read in this series so far. Incredible. There's certain character moments in this series that just I think back about a lot, and this is going to be one of them. Kind of like Itkovian at the end of Memories of Ice is another one of those, but incredible. So that scene was incredible. I loved how a lot of these stories there's already like convergence of characters, so that there's less places the narrative has to visit, which I appreciate that because it gives you more of the characters that you know. Some of the things that are going on are interesting. So Lestari Yo I thought was dead and she wasn't, so kind of a fake out death there. I wonder if, like, where I stopped reading this afternoon was the scene at the end of book 2 where it looks like Heberick and all of them are dead. So is it going to be like a Lestari Yo thing where they're not? I'm not sure how I feel about that because I don't want Erikson to do that too often. Like I felt in Robert Jordan, The Wheel of Time, like every time the Forsaken got resurrected, it was just like, well, there's no stakes here. So it's not that I want those characters to be dead, but I hope that Erikson isn't going to just keep doing a bunch of fake out deaths. Some other things that have come up in the narrative is that we've gotten a few more exposition drops, which is nice, because I welcome those. I saw a comment in one of the Discords. I couldn't find it. I tried to find it right before I turned the camera on. It wasn't in the fireside, so it must have been one of the other Discords I occasionally pop into, like Alan's or Jimmy's or something. And somebody said something about Erikson that just really resonated with me, and they said something like, I love Erikson, but sometimes he can be a bit too opaque. And I thought that was the best description I'd ever heard of him, because it's true. Like, I'm really enjoying Malazan, I'm really enjoying this book. It's a joy to read right now. But I do feel that he is sometimes needlessly complex. And I know that, he pats himself on the back about, making his readers work for it. And I don't mind that. I mean, I would much prefer an author trust me as a reader to pick up things rather than spoon-feeding it or, being repetitious about it. But I do feel sometimes, whatever that spectrum might be, he's sometimes too far on the other side. So it was nice to get kind of a bit of exposition just to see that, yes, we're dealing with this war, but there's a war of the gods going on, and that's affecting everything else. We got some great exposition about what ascending really means and how you can ascend and not really go anywhere. And of course, Hedge was back in a couple scenes, which was really interesting. So I liked that exploration. I liked getting that. So maybe just as we're getting along in this series, we'll get more kind of exposition and understanding, because that's one aspect of the story. I still don't see a big picture, except people are fighting each other, and apparently gods are fighting each other. And I know Cripple God is trying to get back into the Pantheon, I think is what's going on with him. So I don't know 100% what's going on with that. The other thing that I struggle with, and this is just a personal thing, as a reader, I can never picture anything. And it's not just in these books. Like, I don't visualize anything. Like, when someone says, oh, this is my perfect casting, like if I cast a character in my head, like a certain person, it's because of their dialogue, not because of their physical attributes. So I don't picture anything. So a lot of times, a lot of these proper names go right over my head, and I don't know what they look like. Because we got races of all colors, including like blue and purple and stuff like that. I think the Andi are like, Tisti Andi are like purple, blue-ish, but I'm not even sure. So it can be a Tisti Andi, a Tisti Eater. I don't know what they look like. I mean, the obvious ones I remember, like the Kachane Shamal. I mean, it's hard to not be able to picture a Tyrannosaurus Rex with sword arms. But as far as creatures and people, like, I don't picture any of that. And it does, in a way, detract from my enjoyment of the book a little bit. But that's me. That's not Erikson. That's something I struggle with just in literature as well. I don't visualize anything. So, but anyway, I will be reading a bit more tonight. The cliffhanger at the end of book 2, I definitely want to see what's going on with that, because even like Grey Frog had his legs clipped. So it was interesting, because I was just starting to like Cirilla. Is that her name? Sarilla, one of those, the pregnant woman. I was really liking her because we got some kind of point of view, and she was kind of asserting herself a little bit more into the narrative, and I thought, well, maybe we're going somewhere interesting with that. But anyway, I'm enjoying the book. I'm feeling a little bit better, so hopefully I'll be able to read a little bit more tonight, and I'll give you an update tomorrow. Oh, and I totally forgot about the Mappo Aquarium thing. I mean, Aquarium has a new companion. Is it someone who's trying to help him out like Mappo was, or is it someone who's kind of hiding their designs? I'm really curious to see what's going on with that. Anyway, I forgot that one in the last update. Hey, it's Wednesday. Just a quick update. I did read a bunch last night. I don't want to talk too much. I'm still dealing with some congestion from the cold. But it was interesting how the Heberic storyline, how that kind of played out. And I still assume Heberic's dead, but yeah, I think I'm okay with the way that it worked out, because it was, it didn't seem like everybody was dead, so I didn't feel like it was a cop-out. I think I mentioned something in the last update, but I'm almost done with book 3. I'll finish that tonight and go into book 4. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. I don't know if I'll do an update. If I do, I might do a short one in the morning, but it's a holiday and all that, and I probably won't read much tomorrow. I'll probably read a decent chunk tonight. And maybe just a little bit tomorrow, but I'm still a bit ahead of where I thought I would be at this point. I think I said at the beginning, I'm 9 days off. It's about 900 pages, about 100 pages a day, and I'm 4 days in. I was at like page 520 or something like that. So it's going pretty well. We kind of had a little bit of a lull with the action after the big chapter, but that's to be expected. And it's weird though, because I'm well past halfway point and I'm not sure where like everything's leading, so I'm not sure what's going on. It just seems like there's so much at play now that we know that it's not just like a war between two opposing nations or peoples or whatever, but we have the gods are doing all the things kind of behind the screen. And then, I mean, the thing with Felison the Younger, the chapter I finished with last night, it seemed like she was embracing the the role of the new Shaikh and everything. So that's really interesting development. I'm curious to see just what happens with that. But in general, I mean, I'm enjoying the book. It's just it's funny because I'm in book 6 and I already want to kind of reread now that I kind of am just used to the way that Erikson writes. It's like I almost kind of want to start back at Gardens of the Moon again. I mean, I'm not going to do that, obviously. I need to get to the end of this, but no, I'm totally invested, and it's. I mean, I haven't gotten to the books that are the notorious ones. It seems like Reaper's Gale and Toll the Hounds are the two that people really struggle with, but I can't see this not ending up as like one of my favorite series of all time. Anyway, you can hear my voice is kind of so I'm going to end because I'm a little still congested, but this will be after the fact, but happy Thanksgiving for all of you in the U.S., and I'll update maybe tomorrow, if not Friday. So it's Thursday morning before Thanksgiving turns into the holiday that it is. I wanted to just shoot a quick update because I read a whole bunch last night. I didn't think I was... You could tell like the end of... I cut my update short yesterday because I wasn't feeling great, but I managed to stay up quite a bit later, and I read all the way. I'm at like page 660 something, chapter 19, you know, partway through the last book of the Bonehunters. And I think this update, I want to look more globally, like what I feel about this series right now. I started to talk about that yesterday, but I am feeling better, so I can maybe elaborate a little bit more on that. The biggest thing is, the further I get into this, the easier I find the reading, the more comfortable I am not knowing things. That was problematic at first, and, you know, everyone said, let it go, you know, go with the flow or whatever. But I would find a name, and I would not know who that was, and it would drive me crazy. Now, there are times I've been asked in the Discord, like, we met Kalam's sister. I was like, hey, is this the first time we met her, or did I forget her? No, I didn't forget her. We hadn't met her before. But even things like, I'll recognize a proper name of a character, like, let's say, Kerbal Dom, didn't really remember his story, and I was okay with that. Because it seems like most of the time when like a character is reintroduced, we get enough of a reminder of what happened, or if you need it, I should say. And I've grown okay with that. I think I mentioned yesterday, if not, it's just been in my head, like I already want to reread these books, which is crazy because page count wise, I'm probably at about the halfway point, because the back end of the series, the books are bigger than the front end. I mean, like Gardens of the Moon's not very big. A couple of the other ones were around 700. These are all like 900 pagers. And I'm really only halfway through, but I can see the appeal of rereading this. And especially now that I'm starting to understand kind of the scope of things. Now, I've been told, you know, you're not going to understand everything till the very end, and I'm okay with that, because again, I'm getting enough, and I started to feel this in Midnight Tides, where I'm just getting enough information from the author that it kind of, you know, holds you off. It's like, okay, I know there's a big meal, but here's a little snack, you know, to bide your time until we get to the big stuff at the end of this series. But I'm just really enjoying my time, and I haven't felt like, even yesterday, I mean, there weren't a lot of huge, well, there was one big action sequence, but there weren't any huge like set pieces or anything like that. But it also wasn't slow. I was just I just feel really engaged in the story, and I'm really enjoying that. I've said before, there are books that demand more from the reader than others, and books like Malazan, and that's why I'm very deliberate about when I schedule a Malazan book, because it does demand a lot from me. But I don't feel at this stage that it's demanding as much from me as it did earlier in the series. So part of that is familiarity, part of that is getting used to the way that Erikson writes, but I'm loving my time with this book. For just a couple specifics, I was so happy to have Troll back. I think even this book's great, but I think Midnight Tides is still going to be my favorite. I just loved that book, and I thought the narrative was so tight, and I kind of connected with those stories quite a bit. And I hope that Karsa kills Rulad. That will be a stand up and cheer moment if that's what happens. We shall see. That's going to be interesting, and I don't know like how far away the continents are, whether or not that's actually going to happen in this book or not. Like that confrontation. I mean, it feels like it should, but it also feels like that's so far away. But I loved having Troll back. I loved seeing how Midnight Tides is kind of, being enmeshed here, even though it was kind of chronologically the first book. So that's been interesting because we've already started to see how the Seven Cities and the Genabacchus storylines have interweaved. So seeing that one kind of interweave is good. Gano's Perrin as High Fist, I love it. I love it. I've really enjoyed him in this book. It's cool seeing kind of what he was all the way back at the beginning in Gardens of the Moon, to see him kind of grow into this. I mean, he's still a person, but master of the deck and High Fist, but a highly competent individual, even if he still has his own personal doubts about his abilities. So I've really enjoyed that. Oh, and I forgot to mention, did we know that Dunbarrow? I'm crap at names. Did we know before this book that that's Whiskey Jack's sister? That's an interesting wrinkle too. So anyway, I'm just loving my time. Today's Thanksgiving. I'm probably not going to read a whole lot, so I don't even know if I'll do a Friday update or I'll wait till Saturday. But I would predict, because I'm about 220 pages away, that I'll probably finish this on Saturday would be my guess, which is great. I mean, my whole goal was to try to finish it by Sunday so that I can finish it in my time off for the Thanksgiving break. But anyway, I'm just enjoying my time here. Well, Saturday update. I told you I probably wouldn't update on Friday because I wouldn't read much on Thursday, which was true. I read just one chapter before I went to bed Thursday night. And then yesterday I had about 200 pages left and I just decided to finish it. So spent like 5 hours on the couch and just finished it because I was just wanted to finish it. So anyway, I love the book. It's not my favorite. Midnight Tides is still my favorite, but just kind of big picture thoughts. I just wrote my Goodreads review, and the thing that I said is that this is the book, I think I mentioned this in an update already, where I went from really liking the series to loving the series. So it has that going for it. This one didn't have the emotional weight as some of the previous installments, but the stakes were huge. And this thing has become very big now that we see how involved the gods are and this war between the gods. But I did not expect this book to end with basically a Malazan civil war. Didn't see it going that direction at all. And what's interesting is all along we've kind of seen, there aren't really sides like good and bad, but now I kind of see a bad side. I mean, I see the Lysine and Malak Rel and Corballo Dom. I mean, those are like the bad guys now. So it'll just be interesting to see the people that are with them, because we know that within the trenches, there's always going to be good and bad. But, I look forward to those three being put down in some way or another. But I liked the roles of the gods in this book, how they were just a lot more active. And I guess we kind of started to see more of them as the series went along. I mean, we had glimpses all the way along, but as far as being so active, I mean, we had Cotillion and Shadowthrone, who've probably been the most active in the entire series. We saw a lot of them. We saw Opon. That was interesting. But then Erikson was huge in this book. Finding out that basically, I don't think she was to Amber. I think she was just lending her strength to Amber to try to help Tavor. I think that's how that worked, if I understood that correctly. And then her stopping Icarium when he was in his battle rage. And I would suspect, I mean, there was that weird stuff with Bottle early in the book. I would suspect that might have been her. So seeing the gods take a more active role in the story definitely adds just another wrinkle. One of the things I really loved about this book was how it really built upon the 5 previous books, which this just kind of shows the genius in plotting that Erikson has going on, because there's so much that I kept flashing back to Gardens of the Moon. And that was like 4 books ago, because you kind of just assume, well, we have Gardens of the Moon, and then that story continues in Memories of Ice, but it really didn't. I mean, there were a lot of just kind of story threads from that kind of came through here. Just the interweaving of kind of the 3 general continent stories I thought was really well done. And then by the end, we saw that there's a lot more to see in, I don't know the name of that, the Midnight Tides continents, but looks like we're going to have a lot of story heading that direction, with Karsa and Akarium both kind of being there to maybe kill Rulad, which I hope one of them does. But man, I love Karsa as a character. I loved he was having that conversation with Samar Dev, and he's just so nonchalant. It's like, she's afraid for him because of what she saw with Akarium, and Karsa's just like, yeah, I was about to kill him, but some god intervened and stopped me from it. He's just like so coolly confident in his skills, and I just love that aspect of that character. But man, so much went on. I mean, obviously the big development is Kalam. I mean, is he dead? I don't understand the dead house. I mean, there's still so much of the story I don't understand, but I mean, I'm okay with it. So I don't know if he's dead or what it means for him to be in the dead house. But man, and it sucked just that the way that he went down. I mean, after he kills dozens of claws, and Pearl sees him and is just like, I'm not that good, and then just puts a poison arrow in his back. I mean, what a coward. So it was great that Pearl got his, and it was Apsalar, who it was revealed killed hundreds of claw. I mean, holy crap. I mean, I didn't see that coming either. And I did love how she just made sure that he suffered. But then Grubb comes back, and I love, this is something I've enjoyed in the series. I love when Erikson brings back a character that I didn't realize I missed until they were back. And like Grubb was back, and I was like, oh, I missed Grubb. And, such a prescient character, and how he shows, the Tiambra scene to Lestara Yiel. So now she has 2 big secrets, but then she's very isolated. She has no one to tell the secrets to anyway. So I love just Grubb coming back. I mean, there's aspects I still don't understand, like the big reveal of Crust. Like, who is that? I don't know if that's somebody I'm supposed to know, but it seemed like it was supposed to be a big reveal. And maybe it's a character from the first book or another book that I've just forgotten. I did look at the wiki a couple times. I was told, I think Matt told me on the Discord, that it is structured that you get, like, if you look up a character, it does give you the kind of the overview, and then it'll tell you the book. So like you can read. And what I would do is I have to look up a character like I got Malik Rel and Corballo Dom confused, so I had to look them up. I don't know why I got them confused, but I did. But I looked them up, and it tells you the story, and then it says Bonehunters, so I could stop there and not get spoiled for anything. So, yeah, I lean on that a couple times just to make sure I was understanding things. The one thing I keep forgetting, 6 books in, you figure I'd learn, but I haven't, is that there's a glossary at the back. So many times I think even if I would just look up something in the glossary, I wouldn't need to maybe look at the wiki, which I had to look at, I don't know, 5 or 6 times throughout the book. That might help me a little bit. I just got to remember that it's there. I mean, I flip to the dramatist's persona here and there, but yeah, I forget to do that. There's still a lot of questions. I mean, I didn't quite understand. I mean, Hellion, you see her, she's this drunk, and she's drinking for a reason, and it probably has to do with, we find out, like, her job in Malaz City was she had investigated this slaughter or this mass suicide or something at the Drek temple. Like, I don't know what's going on with that. Obviously she saw something she's trying to forget, so I don't know what's going on there. And that was kind of in the epilogue, so it's one of those like head scratchers. Like, I don't see what's going on there. The one thing I didn't understand in the last chapter is I didn't understand the motivation of the battle with Akarium and all that. Like, what they were trying to do with the throne, like what they were trying to accomplish there. I never quite understood what was going on in that scene, other than that it was just a bloodbath, and it was a way to show what Akarium could do. And I love that Aerosol just kind of taps him on the hip and he just stops, but then he doesn't remember any of it. So, and then it was, I mean, there was less emotional heft in this story, but one little scene that caught me a little bit was seeing Mappo upset because you could tell he had sensed what had happened with the Carium, so that was very good. And then there's storylines that kind of disappeared at the end that'll prove interesting, like Gano's parent, how he let Felison the Younger kind of thrive there because he couldn't just butcher her, but seeing that maybe that'll turn into something, and then she's turned into this, I mean, gluttonous thing. Who knows what's going to go on with that? I'm sure it's not done. But, man, the scene with Kalam and Tavor and to Amber was pretty amazing, and it was giving me flashbacks to the first book. And just seeing him in action again was quite outstanding. Really enjoyed that. I mean, there's so many memorable scenes in this book. I mean, the scenes underneath Weigatal were incredible. The ending of this book was incredible. But again, I just keep coming back to this is where I feel the most invested in the story as I have been right now. And that's exciting to me. So even though Midnight Tides is still my favorite, maybe it'll remain my favorite until the end. I hear Crippled God is another one that people seem to point out as their favorites. But it's been a great journey. And once again, I'm so thankful I came back after initially DNFing Memories of Ice. So going forward, I will be most likely, I'm going to say most likely, I'm not writing it in stone. I like to read these Malazan books when work isn't overwhelming me, which is basically any time I'm working. It's a lot. So I like to read these when I'm off. So I have a little bit of gap between when I get back. I'm visiting family for the holidays. I think I get back the 28th of December. And I think I start back January 9th. So I don't know if I can read Reaper's Gale in that gap, but I can at least start it and get a lot into it and then maybe finish it as my first book of 2027. That's the plan, assuming I get through everything that I want to get through in December, which is a bit. And I have 2 trips. I'm going to a conference and then I'm visiting family. I'm out of town a bit, but I should still be able to read because of flights and things like that. So, but if all goes to plan, that's when you can expect me to be reading Reaper's Gale. It may be my first book of 2027. 2027, did I just skip a year? 2026. As far as what I expect from Reaper's Gale is I expect to follow the storyline with Carson and Akarium a little bit, because I think the other main thing in Malaz City that kind of came to an end, that we can kind of flash away from that, and this story is just kind of getting ramped up. So that's kind of what I'm expecting, is that we'll see a lot of that. I've also heard a lot of people say that the first half of Reaper's Gale is one of the worst parts of the series. I've heard the opposite too. So Malazan's one of those series where you do get a lot of strong opinions. But I'll go in just kind of even keel. It's not a book that I've seen. I don't think anybody says it's their favorite. I've seen some people say it's their least favorite. So a little nervous about that. But I kind of know that about Reaper's Gale and Toll the Hounds. Those are kind of the 2 books that people don't seem to be very high on. And knowing that going in is part of it. Just like when I read Wheel of Time, I knew there were 4 books called The Slog. Knowing that going in kind of lessened the effects of it. So perhaps that'll be the same experience for me. But anyway, love the Bonehunters. I appreciate any of you that watched all the way to the end. Drop me a comment below. Let's talk about this book. Anything you want to talk about. I loved it. Look forward to reading more Malazan. Thanks for watching.